The governor has repeatedly said the tents and trailers at the site are equipped to handle hurricane winds to Category 2 strength. So let me get this straight. We're about 2 to 3 weeks ahead of what could be a Category 2, 3, worse storm. And your plan is finding space in nearby prisons to evacuate hundreds of prisoners when you have one road to transport these prisoners. Hey, it's Jordan with Status Coup.
This is Ashley with Status Coup.
On the ground.
In Philadelphia.
Flint, Michigan. East Palestine, Ohio. Please support the leading independent news outlet on the ground.
Covering what the corporate media covers up.
Hey, it's Jordan with Status Coup. Well, what do you know? We were right. And Trump's ICE Gestapo prison, known as Alligator Alcatraz, has absolutely no hurricane evacuation plan. And we are about 2-3 weeks ahead of when the worst of Florida's hurricane season usually strikes. Oh, by the way, a federal judge is now asking the state and the feds, who's running this monstrosity? Let me start by reminding you what Trump and his disciples, DeSantis, said when Trump visited at the opening of this Gestapo prison. This was the head of Florida's emergency management saying that they do have a hurricane evacuation prison for those ICE prisoners being held with absolutely no due process and being tortured.
Contingencies, as with all state correctional facilities, we have a hurricane plan. We will not wait for a Cat 2. We will follow our normal evacuation procedures as we do for any other facility statewide in our great state of Florida. We have on-site fire and EMS resources so that we do not we don't burden the locals with any type of response.
And Kevin Guthrie also said the facility has an aluminum frame structure that's rated for winds for 110 miles per hour, which is a high-end Category 2 hurricane, and they also have backup generators.
So for weeks, politicians, particularly Democrats, and the media have been asking, oh, can we see this evacuation plan, since this prison, which is in Southwest Florida, which is in the bullseye of hurricane season, is going to flood? And most people say it probably can't withstand a tropical storm. Well, they were never shown the plan because now the state is confirming there is no plan. Let me repeat. We're now 2 or 3 weeks ahead of the worst of Florida's hurricane season. And with climate change, storms have been happening even earlier. Let me show you from the Miami Herald, credit to them, who's been doing great reporting on Alligator Alcatraz. We're trying to go back there on the ground soon. So please support us if you can for as low as $5 a month to support our on the ground reporting. We were just down there a few weeks ago. We want to go back, particularly before this becomes deadly. So we could cover this and expose more of this. But according to the Miami Herald, there is no hurricane evacuation plan for the, at this point, who knows, 500 to 800 prisoners. We don't know the exact number right now. After weeks of requests from politicians and media, the state of Florida said it has no formal completed plan for how to handle a hurricane at Alligator Alcatraz, the new immigration detention site in the heart of the Everglades. 2 weeks ago, the Miami Herald requested, quote, the completed hurricane disaster plan for Alligator Alcatraz from the Florida Department of Emergency Management. On Monday, the department spokesperson confirmed no such records exist. Quote, there are no responsive records for this request. That's language in response to a Freedom of Information request. This comes after a Friday press conference at the detention facility where Governor DeSantis and the head of Florida's emergency management issued a hearty defense of the state's ability to protect staff and detainees in the event of a disaster. Guthrie said his team had visited several prisons around the state to explore options for evacuating detainees there, but didn't commit to any specific plan. The governor has repeatedly said the tents and trailers at the site are equipped to handle hurricane winds to Category 2 strength, up to 110 miles an hour, and that people on site would have to be evacuated if more intense winds were expected. The facility already relies on generators for on-site power. So let me get this straight. It's looking at my fake watch. We're about 2 to 3 weeks ahead of what could be a Category 2, 3, worse storm. And your plan is finding space in nearby prisons to evacuate hundreds of prisoners when you have one road to transport these prisoners. Oh, by the way, as pre-hurricane winds are already forming. Oh, by the way, as potentially people are trying to get out of Florida, creating traffic jams, you're going to rush hundreds of people out of there on one road. How many vehicles do you have? How many prisoners can they hold? Where are you taking them? Are you taking them to other facilities in state, facilities out of state? How are their loved ones going to be able to be informed or track where they are going so they know they are safe and out of harm's way? Is there enough food, water for these prisoners? How are you going to transport their medicine, which reports have shown we don't even know if they, in many cases, they are being deprived of medicine in this torture prison, where, as we've reported, you have prisoners being literally left out in what they call the box outside for hours in the hot sun with no water as punishment for speaking out. There's more to it than just, hey, how are you going to remove them? There's a lot that goes into it. Well, they don't even have the plan for how are you going to remove them. It's absolutely remarkable. And by the way, obviously life, protecting life is the most important thing here. But I hope Ron DeSantis has a very, very hefty, as well as the head of the emergency management, hefty legal budget, both as a state official and then personally, because there's going to be a lot of lawsuits when people start dying. A lot of lawsuits when people start dying. I want to show you also, again, it's July 30th as I record this. So, you know, we're already basically in August, but the worst of hurricane season in Florida, typically mid-August. This is from the Weather Channel. Based on the 1991 to 2000 average, August through October has produced an average of 11 to 12 named storms. That's a huge chunk of the entire 6-month-long season average of 14 named storms from June through November. Put another way, about 92% of hurricane season's activity, using a metric called the ACE index, happens from August through the end of the season, and we're basically already in August. Let me remind you with this clip, this was my interview with Rebecca Jones, a climate scientist, who basically said Alligator Alcatraz is a straight up death trap and people are going to die because they don't actually have a hurricane evacuation plan. You know,
It's a death trap.
You think people are going to die?
Yes, absolutely. People are going to die. There is no world in which makeshift tents or even temporary trailer setups would be able to withstand even a tropical storm. So there's wind ratings for every housing structure that's built in South Florida. And South Florida is at the highest risk, which means that any habitat that's built is supposed to be able to withstand, 110 mile per hour winds. They're in a wind zone where it should be rated to 110. But even trailers in South Florida are extremely dangerous places to be, even ones that are wind graded, if you have anything over 30 miles per hour. And, it's not even a tropical storm until it's much stronger than that. So a severe thunderstorm in this area is potentially deadly, much less anything bigger than that. And they're not in a Cat 2 or Cat 3 evacuation zone. They're in an A evacuation zone, which is the highest risk level for an evacuation that exists. It goes like A down to, F. Part of the land is in D, but part of it is in A, right up to the highway. There's one road in, one road out. I mean, if you're talking about they're expanding to 5,000 people, you would need at least 100 buses to get all of the just detainees out of there, much less all the support staff and everybody else that they're claiming to have. The main problem will be is that when these storms start to approach, flooding already begins. By the time the Hurricane I gets onto landfall, if it's a large enough storm, it has already been raining for, 12 or 15 hours. If at any point that one road becomes impassable because of flooding, then no one can get out.
No one could get out. Again, forget politically, like what your opinion on these matters are politically. Just the pure stupidity, callousness, the clear low priority you put on these undocumented immigrants' lives to rush this prison in 8 days. They don't even have running water there. They're drinking their water that they're drinking from is from the same source as their toilet bowls. Prisoners are talking about being eaten alive by mosquitoes. And you also have no hurricane evacuation plan as you open this during hurricane season. So not if, when people die, I hope these people, I'm talking about DeSantis, Trump, the Florida head of emergency management, all the contractors that are making bank. I mean, some of these contractors are making tens of millions of dollars to run this monstrosity. And they were basically handed the contracts after handsomely donating to DeSantis and other Florida Republicans. I hope they could sleep at night. I want to show you another clip. This is from a press conference we covered on the ground there last week. Again, we are still covering this on the ground. We sent a cameraman there to cover this press conference. There, a protester, a healthy 20-something, fainted because with the heat index, it was over 100 degrees. So if healthy, able-bodied people are fainting outside, what do you think is going on inside? Again, that's why it's so important to support us. StatusCoup.com/join, $5 a month. We're trying to go back there with our reporter, Ashley. But in the meantime, we're sending reporters and other video journalists out there to cover what's happening so you are kept in the loop. Please support us for as low as $5 a month. Let me show you this clip. Again, this is from a press conference last week where immigrant activists, spouses of prisoners there were speaking out, as well as a doctor who was there.
I'm here today on behalf of concerned medical professionals. What we've heard today is that people are out here suffering. We're out here suffering, and we've only been out here for about 50 minutes or so. I got bit by at least 20 mosquitoes. It's hot, it's hard to breathe out here. Take a deep breath. Imagine if you had heart disease, or hypertension, or you needed dialysis, or you had depression, or you had schizophrenia, and you were not able to get what it is you needed inside this facility. This is a human rights violation. This is morally wrong.
That's right. Yeah.
It is a death camp.
Hi everybody, this is Dave Decker, Status Coup News. In the middle of a press conference which was scheduled at 11 o'clock and organized by a coalition of South Florida activist groups and 2 family members of detainees who are located inside this facility, a loud clink was heard in the crowd. I had my camera on sticks, shooting, walked around with another camera, and we noticed the person who was unconscious laying on the ground. The pictures kind of speak for themselves. There was a lot of concern. That person did not move. And eventually they did get up, and first responders did show up eventually. And honestly, I cannot confirm whether or not that person went to a local hospital or not for emergency care. Pretty fascinating that we have attendees for a rally / press conference in their mid-20s, early 20s of able-bodied just passing out from heat exhaustion. I think the heat index that day was about 104. The actual heat was maybe 99 or 100. I can tell you the mosquitoes are unbearable before the sun rises. You can't really move. When the sun comes up, it burns them off a little bit, but they just go to the shade. So if you're going to go to the shade, if you're press, protesters, anybody out there, you're going to get swarmed. So your choice is stay in the sun, in the heat, or go to the shade and get swarmed. They're still bad in the sun. And what's also in the shade, though, is the encampments. We have these folks in these tent camps that are not sealed off from mosquitoes, and they're in the shade also.
So as a hurricane approaches, imagine if it's with the heat index over 100 degrees, you have prisoners who aren't getting enough food, according to reports, aren't getting enough water, are being bitten alive by mosquitoes, are starving by some reports, and extremely dehydrated. Yeah, that's going to be fun trying to herd them out of there, huh? It's not if. When people die, remember, we were warning about it now. We were warning about it now. This is unnecessary. This prison should not exist. This is a distraction from Trump and his cronies, literally stealing money from you, including MAGA, through Medicaid cuts, through tax cuts for the rich, through AI, which is going to steal your jobs, just to find and distract you with an other, or they're about to kill the other. Stay with us, Status Coup.